Hey there, the love of Spider-Man 2 is on top, and I'm gonna swing homie until my heart stop. Go ahead and envy me. I'm the swing MVP, and I ain't going nowhere so you could get to know me. God damn. Alright, if you're new, go ahead and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 60k subscribers by the end of the month. I'm pretty sure you guys can do it. That'd be greatly appreciated. And if you're new, go ahead and like the video as well. Let's try to get to like 400 likes. You guys have been killing it. Today, we're going to be talking about the ending explained. We're going to be going from basically the start of the third act to the end of the game and some of the other side missions that kind of might actually bleed in to the next game, or maybe even DLC too. So let's go ahead and start with the first thing that happens in this third act. It's basically Harry getting the symbiote back and becoming Venom. You know, just wrecking house in Oscorp, wrecking everybody's shit, killing these poor security guards who just wanted to feed their children. Like, oh my god. Jesus Christ, Venom. And I honestly think that this was just an incredible moment. I think that we could have had a mini boss fight with Venom and then just have our shit pushed into Spider-Man. But besides the missed opportunities, I think that they did a fantastic job on Venom's design and the way he actually plays. It's just perfect and brutal. It's fucking amazing. Throughout the whole sequence, it's incredible. We get to the end of that sequence and we get to fucking fight Kraven. Oh, it was so good. And Kraven basically being there and fighting him is essentially just his suicide. Like, Kraven essentially just wants to die, and this is the way he's doing it, is by Venom. So I think that that's very interesting that they made him do that, and just the whole arc for Kraven is basically essentially ended right there, and this is where Venom becomes the main villain. And I like the way they did that. I like the way how, of course, the boss fight kind of played out and how Venom just completely destroyed Kraven. Overall, that sequence ends, and then we wake up in the morning, and Peter's essentially going out and trying to find Harry. He doesn't even know that Harry is essentially, like, you know, he doesn't really know that Harry is Venom, or doesn't really know that Harry killed Kraven. And while all of this is going on, Peter tries to go and help and find Harry, and he essentially just does not find him, finds out that the symbiotes are everywhere. Miles finds out that they can make a sound that... No! They make a sound that fucking destroys the symbiotes and and essentially tries to, you know, neutralize everything that it can. They keep trying to go and find Harry, but every time they do, he just pops them off. And then eventually, Harry finds the meteorite. I'm pretty sure before this, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in between this, MJ becomes Scream, which is a hilarious moment in my opinion. She's just roasting the shit out of Peter, and I think that's actually before Venom gets the meteorite. So MJ becomes Scream because Venom wanted to do some oh my god, and I know I'm gonna get demonetized. And once that's all finished, once, you know, Peter, domestic violence sir, he runs over to City Hall, and then he loses. He basically gets his shit pushed in and gets saved by Martin Lee and Miles and becomes the anti-venom. And Miles surprisingly doesn't forgive Martin Lee, but he kind of lets him go at the end. At least that's what I interpreted, because they're just like, what are you gonna do now? And he turns himself in, but he could have easily just went down the alleyway and just ran away. Nobody would have stopped him. So that's a pretty interesting thing that they did there. I'm pretty sure he's powerless now and he's redeemed. So it's a very interesting thing to do with Martin Lee. Of course, Peter has the anti-venom. I'm pretty sure that right after that, he goes after and tries to save Dr. Connors from Venom, who's essentially taking the meteorite. Kind of seems like he was going to kill Norman too, which is fairly interesting. I didn't think that that would be a thing that Venom would try to do, or at least Harry would want Venom to do. But it seems like, and this is such a thing that's going to be talked about, is that Harry seems possessed. Like, it doesn't seem like he's even there at the end of the game. So this very much could be him completely taken over, and his emotions just don't even matter anymore. We are your son. Like, that's, you know, basically Venom just talking at that point. And once he gets the symbiote, it becomes Web of Shadows 2.0. And since it's Web of Shadows 2.0, it's not the worst thing ever, but from when Venom gets the meteorite, when you know, Miles lets Lee go, and then Miles gets Peter goes and saves, you know, Norman from Venom for the meteorite. Somewhere in between that, Miles makes a suit, the new suit, or maybe he goes to the goddamn Adidas store or whatever and just purchases it from over the counter. So it's like, yeah, it's a Miles Morales original, but he really bought it from the Adidas store. Whatever the fuck happened, Miles has a new suit. That's his main suit now. Or at least that's what they're implying because they lock us into that suit like they do with the anti-venom suit. I don't know why they did that. Either way, it's the end of the game now. It's a wild goose chase to get the freaking meteorite at that point. And at that point, you know, it's the end of the game. It's like the last 30 minutes of the game. You basically make a plan with MJ, Peter, and Miles, and they go and, you know, get the meteorite. MJ's a fucking monster and can tank every symbiote, essentially. And is just so much more powerful than Peter and Miles combined. And once she gets the symbiote, they go to the EMF. Peter and Venom fight for a second. I think that's a pretty cool fight too. This is a whole set piece. They really nailed Venom's design, his boss fight, everything about that. The only thing they didn't really design or really nail down is keeping him on screen for a long period of time. I feel like there's like 3 or 4 moments where he could have been on screen longer. But besides that, that ending boss fight was really, really cool. And even when he goes over, chokes out Peter, flies off to the EMF, and then fights Miles, that's even fucking more badass. Why does he keep doing backflips? He keeps doing backflips just to fuck with Peter, bro. So once that finishes, the meteorite gets destroyed, right? At the end of it, it's pretty freaking confusing because it destroys everything except a few nests. And then once you destroy those, symbiotes still fall out of the fucking sky like God himself decided just to fuck with us. So it's kind of confusing that symbiotes keep arriving after you destroy all the symbiote shit and the meteorite and the hives. And another thing too is that where did that other symbiote come from that Carnage gets? So Cletus Cassidy is in this fucking game. He's like the fucking leader of the cultist gang that's all over the city, and he gets a symbiote at the end of the game too, which is going to lead into rather DLC, maybe the third game. But all of that symbiote convolutedness is never really explained, so you're left to kind of interpret what it is. And just the meteorite itself, I really wish they just brought more lore into it, because it's just a hive mind. But the hive mind stays alive even though the hive mind thing that created it is destroyed. You know, none of the things were popping up before because of the fucking meteor. So anyway, besides a little bunch of plot, convolutedness that I really can't explain completely because the lore isn't really there, it's destroyed. They're all destroyed, and most likely in the next game there's not going to be a lot of symbiotes except Carnage, who might even make more symbiotes. So that's an interesting thing. I think that just having Carnage in general for the next game is going to be really fun. And I like kind of what they did with Cletus Cassidy here. I think he's already been a cultist leader in the games, or in the comics, I mean. And they're just stealing that idea like they did with a lot. And I really do think that's an interesting concept to go with. And in the next game, or the DLC. Hopefully it's a DLC, because they can do like 3 parts and really flush out his character with Yuri. And that would be a lot of fun. But if they do it for the next game, that'd be also fun. I'm okay with that as well. Of course, Harry isn't dead, but he is brain dead. Because Miles decided to come bring it back to life. And then Norman's just pissed off. At this point, he's broken. And he's asking for the G serum with the gangster serum. I guess it's the goblin serum, right? So he's either going to try to revive Harry, which might revive the symbiote inside of him, because we know that's still deep inside some of the victims and whatnot. Or he's going to use them on himself and try to go and fight Spider-Man, which is the most likely option, because that's what it seems like they're teasing, is the goblin thing. Another thing is that they make a post-credit scene of Norman visiting Otto, which in my opinion is so bizarre, because, like, what is Otto really going to do? I don't think they're going to do the Superior Spider-Man story, because they're using the skin. Like, usually if they're going to, do something like that, I think it's possible where they could, that sounded like a jet. Is it World War III? Okay. Anywho, I'm pretty sure, like, what they might be doing is the Clone Saga, because they're not bringing in a lot of, I don't know. It's possible that they could do a bunch of things with Otto, maybe make a new Sinister Six, or maybe have him team up with Norman as, him as Goblin, and then boom, they break out, they do crazy shit together. So there's a lot of things that they could do with Otto in the next game, but he's definitely teased to be the main villain, and I'm very interested to see how they play along with that in the next game. Like, how is he really going to even function, considering he still has that neurological disease? So the last postcard scene is the Cindy Moon one, which I'm not really too familiar with Silk, but I just know that if they do Silk like they do in the comics, it's going to be incredibly weird and awkward, so I'm pretty sure they're going to do their own little thing here. But very interesting overall. You know, the whole ending really sets up the next game very well, and I'm very curious to see where Insomniac's going to take the whole universe. They also set up the fact that Peter's really not going to be Spider-Man, at least for a duration of the game in the next game. They already kind of confirmed this, saying that Peter is going to take a little break, so Miles is going to be the main Spider-Man until most likely Otto breaks out. And I think once Otto breaks out in the next game, if they do that, then most likely that's when Peter's going to be like, holy shit, my former boss is coming back and he knows who I am. And he's got to try to kill MJ. So I think MJ or even Haley is in trouble because they already made Haley, of course, a relationship with Miles. So there's a lot that they can do in that next game. But the fact that Goblin's coming in, bro, somebody's dying. Somebody's dying, whether it's Rio, whether it's Haley, whether it's MJ, somebody's going, bro. Peter for crying out loud. Peter dies, everybody's gonna cry. So I think that's a good possibility that that's possible. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. I really am curious to see how they really progress in the next game and how they really push the story and how they actually push the gameplay as well. So I'm not going to give my review out yet. I'm going to give it a few more days to kind of digest the game a little bit more and really see what, you know, they kind of have planned, because the patches and whatnot are actually improving the game. Like, they're actually immensely helpful. So hopefully DLC comes out that can actually longevity of the game, give longevity to the game. And same thing with, of course, New Game Plus and stuff like that. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos in the future, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.